Ways and Means will be called to order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Davis, Alderman Vaccaro, Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Tamika Hubbard,
Present.
Alderwoman Murphy,
Here.
Alderwoman Spencer, Alderman Muhammad, Alderman Oldenburg,
Here.
Alderwoman Pam Boyd,
Here.
Alderwoman Shameen Hubbard,
Present.
Chairman Vaughn,
Present?
President Reed. Here. Alderman Vaccaro,
Present.
Alderwoman Davis, Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Spencer, Alderman Muhammad. We have 8 present.
All right, at present we have a quorum. We'll pass over the excused alderman until the end of the meeting. I will request approval of the minutes from, what is the date on
July
that?
2nd.
From July 2nd.
July
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we pass that.
I second.
All right. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Davis, Alderman Vaccaro,
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard, Alderman Tamika
I
Hubbard,
ran all the way from about 2 buildings away.
Alderman Murphy,
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer, Alderman Muhammad,
Not a good.
Alderman Oldenburg,
Aye.
Alderwoman Pam Boyd,
Here. I mean, aye.
Alderwoman Shameen Hubbard,
Present.
Aye.
Chairman Ballmer,
Aye.
President Reed, Alderwoman Davis, Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Spencer, Alderman Muhammad, President Reed, you have 7 aye votes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. With that, we pass out the minutes. And we will move on to our first order of business, which will be board, item number 1, Board Bill number 85. Alderman Gunther, you have the chair.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. In front of you is Board Bill 85. This is a board bill that we have been kind of working on for a long time. It is for the dissolution of the Cherokee Station Special Business District. The holdup on it was trying to get some information coming in through the Special Business District with some change of leadership that they had. So we originally put the clean bill, the Board Bill 85 that you have in front of you out, but then I do have 3 amendments that I would like to ask that we take up, which were essentially just filling in some of the blanks on the original Board Bill 85. So you should all have in front of you Amendment 1, Amendment 2, and Amendment 3 to Board Bill 85. So I guess I'd like to.
Mr. Clerk, it's separate. We'll have all these 3 on one page in front of us.
That's fine.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir. All right, what we'll do, if anyone has any questions of the bill before we get into the amendments, we can go through very quickly. Alderman Carl, any questions?
No.
Okay. Alderman Murphy?
So my understanding is you're gonna dissolve this organization and make another one.
So they have the Cherokee Station Special Business District, which essentially is the Cherokee Street west of Jefferson Avenue. They went through a probably almost 5-year process of creating a community improvement district, or a SID.
Right.
And so now that the SID is in place, we are dissolving this special business district.
So if we're dissolving this, why does it need amendments?
So the original one that we had, the first one that you have, if you go to page 5 of 5, on such as on line 8, where it says,
Okay.
whereas on month, date, year, and then line 9, adoption of resolution number, those
Oh,
were
okay.
blank. So in the time that we originally put this forward to getting the information from the board, there were a couple changes in leadership, and we
I
had to
see.
kind of track down some of their records and some of their minutes. So we were finally able to get all the information, and on the very back of this is the actual resolution by the Cherokee Station Special Business District. So we were able to get that information, and then we're plugging in that information with the amendments.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
So it seems that all these 3 amendments are basically technical. We're just putting a date, a number, and the actual names
The
of
name.
the people, so.
Correct.
All right, the procedure would be,
wait.
start with amendment number 1.
Did you have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So then I'll make a motion that we.
He first has to introduce the amendment, I believe, does he
I
not?
thought he did with all.
No,
three.
no.
So I would like
We
to
have to
start
do each
by,
amendment one by one.
yeah, I would like to start by introducing amendment number 1 and ask that we pass amendment number 1 with favorable
Okay.
vote.
Does anyone have any questions of board amendment number 1? Alderman Murphy, for Carl?
No.
Alderman Murphy? Alderman Hubbard?
No.
Hearing no questions, we will entertain a motion to
Then
adopt
I'll
amendment
Make a
1.
motion that we adopt amendment 1 to Board Bill 85.
Second?
Okay, hearing a
Previous
second.
rule.
Hearing previous roll, hearing no objections, we will move on to, and accept amendment number 1, move to amendment number 2.
So I would like to introduce amendment number 2 and ask for a favorable vote.
Okay.
I'd like
Any
to-
questions of amendment number 2? Alderman Carl? Alderman Murphy? Alderman Hubbard?
No.
So I'll make a motion that we adopt amendment number 2 to Board Bill 85.
Second.
Okay.
Previous rule.
Hearing no objection, previous roll, we have adopted amendment number 2.
And then I would like to introduce amendment number 3 and ask for a favorable vote.
Any questions of the committee? No questions, hearing no questions, we'll move on.
I'll
Someone
make
entertain
a
a
motion
motion?
that we adopt amendment 3 to Board Bill 85.
Hearing a second, hearing previous roll.
Previous rule.
No objection, previous roll. Amendment 3 has been adopted.
So,
So we'll now take up Board Bill 85 as amended.
As amended.
You have a clean copy and a marked copy in
Yeah.
front of you.
I see that, okay.
So what we have here is the original bill with these technical changes. Alderman Gunther, any other comments?
Yeah, no other comments. I was just gonna say, you can see in front of you, the marked up copy has, where we placed in the amendments. And then you have the clean copy in front of you of the bill. Yeah, I would, just ask that we, pass Board Bill 85 as amended, and ask for your favorable
All
consideration.
right, thank you. Alderman Carl, any questions?
no.
Alderman Murphy?
No questions.
Alderman Hubbard?
So I'll make a
Nope.
motion that we adopt Board Bill 85 as amended with the
Okay.
due pass recommendation.
Second?
Request for previous roll?
Yes, previous rule.
Hearing no objections, we have passed out Board Bill 85 as amended. Thank you very much, Alderman Gunther.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, committee members.
Good
right.
luck with that.
Joe, if you wouldn't mind, I'm gonna have
Yes.
Rich and Todd take the chairs up here, as they'll be the technical experts helping me along. We will now take up item number 2, Board Bill 112. You'll see that you have a summary of Board Bill 112 before you, and behind it will be the ordinance that it is amending. It's from the E&A, we're making a supplemental appropriation of funds of $9,364,000 for the purpose of safety and maintenance, upkeeps of facilities and ground supplies set forth as in Exhibit A. The funds from the ordinance will be used to ensure funding is in place for the expenses listed in said exhibit. I will now let Mr. Walterman and Mr. Bradley take over as far as going through the list of items in the bill. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you. Does everybody have Exhibit A in front of them? If you don't, I have copies.
Yes, we do, it's on the back of it.
Yeah, it's on the back of your.
I think it's.
Oh,
front of
okay.
board bill
So it's
completely.
broken into 3 boxes,
Okay.
okay? Good job.
It's on the back of the.
Yeah.
Oh, on the back of
Yeah,
it.
it's-
Okay.
So I identified as 3 boxes because it's 3 different capital funds that are being impacted, okay? So I'd like Mr. Bradley to go over the box number 1, which is our citywide capital money, which was created due to our surplus we had at the end of the year. And the ask is to appropriate $6.5 million, and Rich will go over the details in that box, if you would.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good
So,
morning, sir.
there's a list of projects and funding next to them. I'd like to just walk through each one, and then I'll be glad to entertain any questions you have on them. So the first one is security surveillance cameras for $2.5 million. This project would fund the design and installation of about 150 new pan-tilt zoom cameras and 150 license plate reader cameras. The associated hardware and software, the infrastructure would be placed in the public right-of-way and on city-owned property, and it would stream video information to the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department Real-Time Crime Center. The next item on the list is fiber ring redundancy for $1.1 million. Currently, the city owns fiber throughout, and there are many places where the fiber ring is not complete. The fiber is utilized for communications, traffic surveillance, cameras, and other means of communications for the city. This fiber ring redundancy would help us to complete this fiber ring throughout the city and help us with adding infrastructure in the future, make a complete system. So it'd be greatly beneficial to any projects that depend on fiber in the future. The next item is tree removal for $1 million. The City of St. Louis Forestry Division certifies and maintains thousands of city-owned trees. This funding would be utilized to remove trees that are certified as dangerous and immediate need of removal as a public safety hazard by Forestry's Division of Certified Arborists. The big thing to remember on this one is forestry removes a lot of trees in-house, and they have been short-staffed and they're falling behind and behind and behind and behind. This $1 million would allow them to put RFPs out on the street and contract out and have private contractors help them to remove the trees expediently. The next item on the list is the Enterprise Resource Accounting System for $900,000. So the city's current time and attendance tracking, payroll and finance and budget system, procurement systems are being retired due to missing critical functionality or inability to interface with other systems. Some of these systems are completely paper-based and outdated. The old legacy systems require several manual and repetitive processes that can be eliminated through the automation in this new enterprise resource planning system. In the 2018 GOB, the city approved $6.6 million for the purchase and implementation of the new system. The city's consultant performed a full total cost ownership analysis and estimated cost of the new system to be about $7.5 million. So therefore, an additional $900,000 is necessary to fund this new system. The next item is bridge maintenance for $500,000. The city of St. Louis owns and maintains 73 bridges. The bridges are inspected by city engineers and MoDOT every other year, and some are inspected annually, pending on their sufficiency rating. 15 of these bridges are currently structurally deficient and eligible for reconstruction funding. Due to the significant cost of replacing these bridges, the city applies for grants from the East-West Gateway Council of Governments for funding. When the grants are approved, they provide the city 80% federal funding, and the city is then required to put up a 20% local match share. This funding source would be utilized for local match share portions of these grants, and also in the interim, the funding would be utilized to perform critical repairs on all the bridges citywide to ensure that they're safe for our traveling public. And then lastly, municipal building repairs, systems, roofs, etc. for $500,000. Many of the HVAC, electrical, plumbing, roof, windows, doors, systems, etc. on all of our 170 plus city buildings are in need of extensive repairs or total replacement due to their age, inability to function as needed, or just the availability of parts and replacement parts due to their age. So these systems must all be operative in our city buildings in order to provide a reasonable place and safe place for our employees and citizens to work and visit. So that's the presentation on those items.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bradley. Alderman Vaccaro, any questions on this particular portion?
I do. So you said $1 million so they could put an RFP out, but they already put an RFP out and the bids came back on the 27th.
If I could, Alderman,
Yeah.
I just received my package yesterday. I'm on the selection committee for that. And, you know, when we're doing the process, we don't share a lot until we have a contract done, but we did get 4 bids. And I just did a little cocktail napkin scribbling to see what the prices were compared to what we can accomplish. And our goal is to remove about 2,000 trees of various sizes, you know, up to the 48s and that. And those are the ones, that's actually their list. I believe it has 2,100 trees on it that forestry says they should take down that we're behind on. So the goal was to take down about 2,000 trees. And when I look at the prices submitted, that $1 million will right about do that. It's within, you know, $100,000 of completing that task.
And so, not to be, yeah, and yes, there's a lot of dangerous trees and they need to come down. And I'm fine with that. But what happened to all the money in forestry if they couldn't hire the employees? Didn't they have money left over?
So, yeah, so, you know, when we had our surplus last year,
Yeah.
you know, half of that was due to vacancies. the vacant money rolls back in. Very seldom are we able to move the one-on-one, our personnel money, into other expenditures. We typically have not had that habit or that pattern. So the vacant positions, that money would typically roll into other services to balance the budget, whether it was police overtime, when we had the unrest or something like that, to balance the budget at the end of the year. So that money came back into the general revenue coffer at the end of the year.
Well, that's last year, we're talking about this year,
Right.
this year's budget. This year's budget, we budgeted for so many tree trimmers, so there's gotta be excess money, or not excess money that they haven't spent in this year's budget, not last year's budget.
So, yeah, I believe there's 25 or 27 tree trimmer positions in forestry, and I believe they have about 18 or 19 occupied. So that would mean there's about 7 positions sitting vacant that are accumulating. Now, while there may be 7 there, we always do the salary reduction number, which will take 2 of those out probably. So you're talking about 5 positions, probably, worth, $40,000 a year of benefits, maybe. So there could be like $200,000 there at the end of the year if this pattern would continue. I think that's what you're referring to.
No, I'm saying, yeah,
If those jobs
there
stay
should be
vacant.
money, because we funded it,
Right, but I will tell you,
I believe he's asking when will that money be available?
well,
If it would be available to add to
so
this.
if you looked, and then, every appointing authority, so your Alan that runs forestry, could look that over and say, hey, I'm gonna have extra money, and he could try to move that out and do something with it. But I'll tell you, he doesn't just cut trees, he has to cut grass, in these vacant lots and that. And he's actually been overrunning his per performance on grass cutting people and limited term people to get more lawnmowers out there to cut grass. And we could talk about his whole budget, but, he's approaching the opportunity here to actually do vacant building lots, 5 times this year, which he's only done about 2.5 in the past. So he uses that money to do whatever needs he can do at the time.
Okay, because I know that they went to private companies up in North to cut the grass.
We have several programs out there trying to contract out stuff.
Is
You know.
is it not, I was under the impression it's contracted out already.
So yeah, we've got a lot going on. We started contracting out about 3 years ago. We've had a couple contractors fail. We have a current contractor that's doing some vacant building lots and cutting a couple of cemeteries down south. We have 2 major cemeteries that we inherited over the years with all the stones in it. It's a lot of handwork. So we contracted those out. And then we have a new pilot program. We got a big section up in Alderman Pam Boyd's ward where we're doing this, more ownership of the lots. And it's a program to see, and Laura Chin over at LRA is running. I mean, I could talk forever about this stuff, and I know you got limited time, but they're actually studying the data to see if we throw a little money at this, if it will reduce the calls for service for police and the calls for service for dumping. So I mean, it's a pretty neat program. We just got that rolled out probably July 1st this year, and we were gonna spend about $75,000 on that program. So that would be where some of this money came from. I think we're down to about 50,000 because we've had about a third of the group fall off and fail to where they couldn't show up with mowers and they couldn't produce the work they were planning on doing. So
I could just,
so we're spending that money,
Two-
Alderman.
2 last very short questions, they're really not gonna be long. So, I know that it's at the breast height of the tree. Why not go with multiple companies so it moves faster? And can you say what they came in at? I know it was the breast height of the tree. So depending on the thickness of the tree is how much it costs to take the tree down.
Right.
What kind of costs do they come up with? Like to take an average tree, let's just say an average.
No. I don't know. I didn't bring that cheat sheet with me.
That's okay, just a guy.
No, they range from about $250 for a little one to just over $1,000 for a big one. I was shocked.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
No, for like a 38-inch tree was right around $1,050.
So you think take.
Is that
multiple-
stump removal too?
No stump
No,
removal.
the city's gonna
No,
move
no,
the
no.
stumps.
What we're really trying to do is get rid of liability.
Right,
Okay, I know stump's a little bit of liability, but the trees that
no, I
need to come
understand.
down are the bigger liability.
I understood, I sat in that meeting. The other one last thing, by spending this money, or is this gonna impact the cure violence? In other words, we're gonna get over there and they're gonna say, well, we spent all the money and there's no money.
Well, when I
for
get to
it.
square two, I'll explain cure violence. That's actually in this
Okay.
thing.
All right,
And
Okay,
there's-
then
there's
that's
a-
all my
thank
questions.
you. Alderman Murphy, any questions?
Yeah, on the surveillance cameras, it says 250 million. I thought, we were,
2.5 million.
I'm sorry, 250, I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, oh.
Hey, let me know when we got that.
That we, as aldermen, were using Ward Capital on a lot of that stuff too, so what's that gonna be used for?
I'm glad you asked. I have a sheet here, and these locations were determined by the, police department and what they thought their needs were. And then they're random, they're not by ward, I'm sorry, it's just some
I have
list
that
I
right
had.
here.
Well, we know
Alright.
our,
But the intent is to
I already
go to
know.
these areas, and we're gonna do the best we can to hit each one of these intersections. And because this is not federal money and it's our cash money, it's gonna allow Rich's people to work faster and quicker and work in-house with our staff and get questions answered faster, that we're hopeful that we could actually see some of these pop up in 6 months.
I've been waiting 3 years.
But I wanna tell you, some of these are 2 years away, okay? And it's a big variation on how it looks out in the field. Okay, if you get a location and there's a traffic, controller there with fiber in it, and we can go right up a base there, we can hang a camera in 6 months. But if the camera's across the intersection, or we gotta run a bore shot, dig a hole, that's where you get into this 1.5, 2 year problem.
That's the completion of the fiber ring is gonna help you do that.
Yes, and then the fiber ring completion gives us redundancy, so when somebody digs up a piece, the line can go the other way, so the cops aren't sitting over there dark.
when it says, Y, that means there is a camera there, that's where they
No,
want a
that's what they
camera.
wanna put, that's the
They want
request,
to
yes.
put, I
yes.
getcha. And then no means there's no not the proper,
No means they don't think they need an LPR. All these have yeses for pan zoom tilts, that's your first
Okay.
column. Your second column is your license plate readers.
right,
And the police has determined, when they looked at the map, where do they wanna read the plates at? Cause you don't need one at every intersection, you wanna
Right.
get them here and there, see them coming in, coming out, kinda thing, I assume. So this is what came out of the intelligence division over at the police department as a request. So there should be 150 of each type of camera here. And those numbers may seem weird because in LPRs, you need one camera per lane to track. So while you might do an intersection, you wanna do one direction, it could take 2 or 3 of them to get one direction if there's 3 lanes going that way.
Well, I'm-
that's all for
Thank you.
that, thank you.
Alderman Hubbard, other questions?
Is this the same list we were passed out?
I assume it is, it should
Okay.
be.
Okay.
If I screwed it up, I screwed it up, but yes. If you went to the meeting with the mayor and them, that list was handed out, and that's what we're sticking with.
Okay.
And until it's a success, we're calling it the Jimmy list.
The Jimmy list, okay. That was my,
None in the 23rd ward.
Any further questions?
Yeah. None in the 23rd ward. In over 3 years that we paid for cameras that are still not up. And all I get is more excuses as to why those cameras are not up.
So there's a couple things that happened there, and I think we've talked about it, but I'll go over them
No,
again.
we have not.
Okay, well, we can talk about it right here. So first
It's
of all,
not, it's not on subject with this. but we
the
will-
fiber-
If it's an individual thing
It's
about the
not.
ward,
It-
why
it's-
don't we
it's
take
a-
care of it after the meeting, we'll get to move the meeting
We
forward.
won't-
That's fine.
You got time after the meeting?
Sure.
I mean,
Thank you, Mr.
absolutely.
Bradley.
I'll hang
All right.
around, I'll hang around as well.
And maybe it's, I believe at the Capitol meeting, was there some money for the elevators, is that not, is that a separate?
So, the elevators are being repaired with bond money,
All right, okay. that's
okay?
fine.
There's $2 million, so the elevators will be replaced.
So it'd be safe to get in the elevators here eventually.
But, Rich needs to tell you, there's a 20-week lead
lead time on
time
elevator.
to
equipment.
getting them once the cash is in the box.
Okay. That's what, my knee's getting better, I can make the steps.
I'm gonna
too.
seal this.
All right. Okay, if we're finished with box A, we'll go to box B, and who's taking that one up?
I'll take box B. Yeah, box B is a little confusing, if you would, but, so I'll try to go slow.
Enlighten us.
I'll try. So, last year, the alderman approved an ordinance to create the City Justice Center Account Fund. And that is funded by the federal prisoners that we house across the street. And in that ordinance, it said 70% of the revenue from that would go into this fund. So it's a fairly new fund. Don't quote me, I think it started last November maybe. And so it started generating money. So when we did our budget this year, we appropriated $3.7 million to that account. Yeah, and the 3.7 was earmarked for roof repairs and scanners and, boiler replacement, and some wire shaker fence, windows, that type of stuff, as well as there was 500,000 of it put for violence prevention and alternatives, okay? So that was allocated when you guys passed the budget last year, FY '20. So then, as this violence alternative has been talked about more, at ENA last month, they transferred out $1.5 million of this money that was intended to do some of these repairs up there. And they put it in to violence prevention alternatives. So currently today, there's $2 million in that account. The 500 that was originally allocated in the budget, and the 101.5 million that was transferred last month. So this effort in front of you here is to replenish that 1.5 million, so we can do these repairs to that building over there, so we can keep our buildings up to snuff. And I cannot emphasize the importance of keeping it up to snuff, because having these federal prisoners in there requires standards that are typically higher than our standards when we transport them in that. So if we're gonna take all this money, we gotta make sure we're keeping our house clean. So, you know, well, why didn't we put it up before? What do we think? Well, our best guesses was this thing would only generate 3.7 a year. We think this thing's gonna generate near 6 million a year now. And Paul Payne's drinking the Kool-Aid, hence he put this together. So because we think it's gonna get more by the end of July, we feel there's another $1.5 million to appropriate to this fund. And that cash will be used to replenish these items I listed here for repairs and things to keep the building up.
Alright.
So we will maintain the 2 million in violence alternatives, that will stay there, and we will just simply have money for roofs and that.
Okay.
Bye.
Alderman Carl, any questions of Ms. Walter?
Maybe I'm confused, but the first question I asked, you said you were gonna get to cure violence. Is this gonna take the money away? Or is there gonna be the 5 million left over in this budget for the cure violence program that unanimously voted out, not
Right.
even one?
So this 2 million that I keep mentioning is above the 5, okay? So when you piecemeal the 5 together, and I don't have the details here, but they actually took 3.5 million of the remaining capital to get part of that 5. If you go back to box 1 here, on the bottom line, it says there's 5 million. That means there was a $5 million balance remaining in our capital. Okay, and of that 3.5 million of that has been used to put the 5 together in your new board bill that you guys just
Pure
approved.
violence.
Right?
So there will be the 5 million?
Yeah, that's the 3.5, and then,
Well,
they-
just, I mean, if it's there, I mean, it's
Yeah,
just.
the 5, what he's saying is basically the
Right,
5 million
that's
is
fine.
there,
As long as
this
the 5
doesn't touch
million-
it.
Yeah.
We're doing
As
a
long as it's
box
5
B.
million.
this has 0 impact to your recent ordinance to put the 5 million together.
That's fine, okay.
Box
that's
B
all.
is merely putting back
That's all I was saying.
money for the repairs that we took to use for cure violence.
No, I just wanna make sure the 5 was there, and you're saying it's there, I'll.
And honestly,
trust
by
that.
doing this, you're gonna have 5 plus 2, the number's 7.
Alderman Murphy, any questions?
No, thank you, asked and answered.
All right, Alderman Hubbard, any questions of Mr. Walton on this? Okay, thank you very much. With that, we'll move on to box 3 and exhibit A to finalize our presentation.
All right,
And who
so
will be taking this one up? Mr.
box
Bradley,
3,
thank
I'm
you,
gonna
sir.
do this one. And so the first item, and this is Forest Park funding from 1116 rather. The first one is office computer and supplies for 10,000. Currently, the Parks Department is unable to have the proper computer equipment to scan drawings, plot drawings, print even simple items on 11 by 17 from their computers. So this $10,000 would help them buy this hardware and software to be able to computerize some of their engineering stuff in Forest Park. Facility ground supplies for $250. There are things that they've not been able to replace or do because of lack of funds, such as, buy a planer and saws and to make park signs, tools to pull impellers from pumps, utility tracer type equipment since they do all their own locates within the park. And then just simple materials like, drywall and furnaces and AC units and things that they need within the park buildings. They have no funding for that. A big item here would be replacing overhead doors that have failed throughout the park, and they've had a lot of issues with those. The next item for $300,000 is fleet. We've recently completed some major improvements in the park, both the Central and Aviation Fields, multi-million-dollar projects. And so, in these cases, they would buy some gators to go out and service these fields, whether they pulled a watering trailer, or they carried ball equipment, or soccer goals, whatever. They can't drive heavy-duty trucks or normal vehicles on these fields. They will tear them up. So they need to buy some gators to work those fields. They would also buy a stake truck, which they utilize in tandem with their refuse truck in the park, and then a piece of equipment called a Ventrex, which is used to mow and blow snow at the jewel box and venues of that nature. The next item is $50,000 facility and ground services. They're down to 2 plumbers, and they cannot keep up with simple things like plumbing repairs in their buildings, or something like winterizing or starting up irrigation systems throughout the park, which there are a number of those, specifically on those 2 projects I just talked about. So what they would do is use this funding to contract out a plumber or plumbers to do that work. The next item is 460 major projects. So there are a few different things here they're gonna highlight. The Park Administration Building has some significant structural repairs that need to be completed on it. The columns around the building are rusting almost all the way through the flange, and we need to do something pretty quick there. The building has its original single pane windows in, and today, and every time it rains, they place aluminum foil pans under all the windows to catch the water that comes in. As you can imagine, they're inefficient, and some of these offices are so inefficient that either on a cold or hot day, they need to move people to the interior of the building just to be able to perform their work. So there's other HVAC work that needs to be done, tuck pointing work and so forth. Some of the walls have major structural cracks in them, and so we would need to take care of that, keep the water out, keep the air quality up. The jewel box has some issues with the panes of glass that have slipped, and they are too high for our staff to repair or replace. The building leaks terribly, which doesn't sound too crazy, although there have been at least 2 weddings that have been canceled with full refunds because the water was cascading in on the ceremony. So either we fix it or they can stop using it for outside venues. The greenhouses have the same issue with the glass slipping or falling out altogether. And in both of these cases, beyond the ineffectiveness of it, it's a safety and security issue. And at some point, somebody's probably gonna get hurt from this. And then lastly, Moore Shop 40 needs a new roof. And so we're probably talking a couple $100,000 there. That roof is at least 30 years old, and nothing else we can do there. And then lastly, for professional services for $100,000, these are the professional services that would either be the design and inspection work or whatever would need to be done, hired from the outside in order to get these particular items completed. Support the above.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions, Alderman Carl or Mr. Bradley on this?
No.
All right, Alderman Murphy.
No questions, thank you.
All right, Alderman Spencer, any questions?
My question would just be around Forest Park Forever and where I don't fully understand that relationship as far as the,
So Greg would probably be a better one to answer the specifics of it, but they do maintain things like these particular fields I just talked about, the $3 million central field, and then the couple $1 million aviation field. They raise funds to redo all these type of things, but my understanding is that we, the city, are still responsible for most of the maintenance that goes along with it. There is a big agreement in some divided areas, but the things that I noted here are under our responsibility for maintenance.
and I apologize for missing the beginning, but is this coming out of the general fund or is this coming out of the Parks Fund?
This is the Forest Park Fund 1116.
Got it, thank you.
It's a revenue fund.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you very much. Alderman Hubbard.
No question.
All right. Hearing no any questions, gentlemen, this, be closing on this. I believe these are all necessary functions that we have gone over, what we're going to have with the
Can I ask a,
cameras and the fiber ring things and the tree removal, all the things that we've all been talking about and wanting for quite some time. So in closing, I will entertain a motion to pass out.
I have a question.
Oh, now you do.
I do, just one. how many does it take to make a quorum? Because if we don't, we have a new person here, which will kill previous role.
Well,
Is
she
there
Well,
enough in
then
the room?
she can
opt
object to
out.
previous role.
I understand,
Alright.
but then you only have 1, 2, 3, 4,
2,
5.
5.
Is 5 a quorum?
Five.
I'm not comfortable voting on this, Alderman, so if you wanna go with previous role, I'm okay with that, I haven't had a
If she has
chance
no
to
objection to
review.
previous role.
Okay, that's fine.
All right?
Yeah.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to pass out Board Bill 112. Entertain a
I'll go
motion.
ahead and make it. Make
Entertain a
motion.
second.
There's a do
Second.
pass recommendation.
Second.
Previous rule.
Hearing no objection, previous rule, Board Bill 112 passes out with due pass recommendation. Ways and Means is adjourned. Thank you for your time.